Our next one is titled, Am I Ungrateful? My husband and I have been together for 7 years. He's a lovely man. He respects me and supports my dream. He buys me stuff for my home run business, even without me saying. He anticipates things like that and does it for me. And I love how thoughtful he is. But sometimes I wish he could be spontaneous like how he used to be while dating. We would take trips every month and he used to make efforts into meeting me. He's a businessman now. And while we were dating, he didn't have set office and stuff like that. He goes to work at 12 p.m. and comes back around 11 or 12 a.m., so midnight. I just feel like he could make some effort into taking us out and spending time with our daughter, like buying things and all. Is that just it though? He does a lot for us about this making effort, but this making effort is kind of lacking. Like today, I'm so pissed at him. A week ago, he told me about his relative's wedding that we have to go to. I'm an introvert and don't like going out and meeting people. I don't know. But yesterday I thought, what the hell? It's fine. I'll go and take my daughter to. I was telling him last night that I'd wear this and I could dress our baby up and stuff like that. And then today morning, he comes up to me and says, apparently only he and his parents got invited and how the wedding is very intimate and all. I got so pissed. He's like, I can stay back if you want. I'm like, no, it's okay. You can go. It's Sunday today, and I just wish that he would stay with us and maybe we could go out and have fun. Most Sundays he has work or some stupid wedding or other crap like that, and I just hate Sundays because of this. Don't I have a right to be mad? I didn't say anything then because I didn't want to spoil his mood. Am I being rude? My knee-jerk response to this is yes, she's being a little bit ungrateful. I'm one of those people who reacts very badly when plans change suddenly. So in this scenario, it's like in this situation, if we had a wedding that was planned and I started making plans to go to it, and then I found out that I'm not going pretty much on the day off, then I would also be angry. But I would be angry just because I am fundamentally terrible at dealing with changes in plans that are unexpected like that. I don't like it. And that's a character flaw that I have. I honestly sounds a little bit like that might be the case here, because she says I'm an introvert and she didn't want to go, and then she changed her mind, and then she was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna go, and she started making all these plans and getting excited about what to dress the kid up in, and then it didn't work out. Fine. I think that there's some little bit of element of that. The rest of it though, it sounds like he's working 12-hour days. It sounds like he is a very supportive husband. It sounds like he does care, and like he gave her the option of him staying home as well. And it doesn't sound like he was bitchy about it or that he was angry or resentful about it. He was really like, I can stay home and we can spend time together instead. And she is the one who's like, no, you can go. But then she's kind of still holding a grudge about it, and she's still annoyed by it, and she can't get over it now because she told him that he can go. And so she has to sit at home and be by herself and like stew in that resentment that she created by herself. So I think fundamentally, yes, it's totally fine to have expectations when it comes to, when you get married to someone, you don't want to never see them, right? So it's totally fine to have an expectation that you will be spending time with your husband on a regular basis. And it's also totally fine to say, Sundays are sacred for us. They are our time as a family. We won't be doing anything else. We won't be going to weddings, we won't be spending time with other family members, whatever it is. You can do that. You can have that conversation and decide to do that if you want. If you get such little time throughout the rest of the week that this is important to you, all of this is completely fine. But then it's not fair in the moment to be like, you can go and then still be annoyed at him for it. I don't think that that's right. And I think everything else where she's like, I wish he could be spontaneous like how he used to be while we were dating. I understand the urge and I understand the need, and maybe I would even vocalize it to him and be like, I really miss those days. We used to have a lot less to worry about. We used to spend a lot more time together. You used to be a lot more spontaneous and take me out suddenly without us planning it, and it was really awesome and I really enjoyed it. You could say all of that, fine. But you know what you could also do? You could spontaneously plan something and surprise him with it, and then you could go out and have a great time. It does not always have to be this sense of frustration that because he's busy and because he doesn't have time to have this spontaneity that he used to have, then you don't need to give up on that or to say that, okay, now like he doesn't care about me the way that he used to care about me. I don't think that this is fair at all. I actually think that most men, when they work hard like this, they work hard like this specifically for their family and because they want to provide. And maybe that goes too far. Maybe for the wife at some point, she's like, this is not working for me anymore. I feel like I'm by myself all the time, and that's not a marriage. That's fine. But then that's what you say, and then you sit down together and you talk about it and you try to find a different way. But you don't need to hold a grudge about these kinds of things. So the first comment here says, it seems like once he got his office, he became very busy. You said he's a businessman and works 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. That's a lot of working during the week. And he also has busy weekends. I don't think he doesn't mean to not make time for you and baby. Try asking him about planning a trip for you guys instead of expecting him to be spontaneous. Sometimes you do have to speak up. I believe this is an easy fix with a simple conversation. I hope it works out. And then OP replies, this is something that always comes up, that always comes up, you see. Why is it that I always have to tell him? Shouldn't it be something innate? And there is where I would say there's fundamentally a completely just false assumption and a very, very selfish way of dealing with this situation. Instead of saying, I should tell him I'm not happy about how things are working out and I should appreciate that, I can say I really appreciate how hard you're working and I understand why you're working so hard, but this is just not tenable for me as a long-term situation. People always think of their relationships in terms of take. So like, this person isn't doing this, they're not giving me that. Why aren't they supporting me when it comes to this? It's all the ways that you can take from the other person. And I get that. I understand that in some ways that's a natural urge and a natural thing to want. But maybe you should also think, what am I giving and how do I give? And I think that if she changed that mindset, it's like, why isn't it innate that he thinks about these situations in the exact same way that I do? Why can't he, while he's working 12 hours a day, sit there and put himself in my shoes and imagine how I must be feeling, even though I haven't said anything about it, and then change what he's doing? Because that's a very high expectation. And if he's working this hard, who has time to think about that? Can't you think about it from this perspective of what can I do to make his life easier so that we still get lots of time together and we still fix the problems that I want to fix, but that it's not stressful for him and it's not annoying for him and it's not frustrating because he feels like he's unappreciated? Like, what could I do to change this outcome instead? She says also, OP says, I'm pretty sure if I was as busy as he was, he would have a problem, I'm sure. And yeah, fair enough. Maybe this is the case, but maybe he's also like, I'm only working this hard so that you don't have to you don't have to work to the same extent. Maybe he's like, I'm only doing this so that I can afford to give you extra support when it comes to your business so that I can support your dreams and your happiness as well. It's always quid pro quo. In some ways, and that's a pretty awful attitude to have in a marriage. Like, you cannot always expect that both parties give and take to the same extent at all times, and you should not expect him to be super understanding if he's working very hard to change your life circumstances, to change the lifestyle that he can afford for the family, and then you go and do the same thing. But then that's also not a fair comparison to make. The next one is a little bit long, so I'll only read some of it. She says, a lot of times when one person in the relationship is providing in the sense of purchasing everything the house and family members need, it's their way of making up for not being present. You'll see it with generally, but not all, men who own businesses and who work a lot, that they buy their relationships. They miss anniversaries, birthdays, etc., and make up for it with extravagant gifts, or at the lower end of the scale, try to make up for it by making sure financially that the family is stable. And yeah, that may well be the dynamic that OP is experiencing here. That's kind of what I would assume if someone is working 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, then I would guess that there is some element of that you can't really be as present as you want to be. But I think it's also completely fine for her to say, this is not the life that I want for us. Or to sit down and say, we're only going to be doing this for the next 6 months, so we're going to sacrifice for 6 months, a year, 2 years even. But then there's an end date and we're working towards having that end date because we want to change how we live. And that's fair. Like, that's okay. That's perfectly acceptable. All of OP's replies to these people, honestly, are a little bit childish. One person here says, I would hate if you were my partner. Stop acting like you're dating, you're married with a child and have responsibilities. Expecting spontaneity is unrealistic and more than slightly childish. And OP gets really upset by this. She says, how is expecting the partner to be present childish? How is just taking me and my child out for even a dinner childish? It was rude of you to just assume stuff. And I think that the childish part of it is having this person there who's kind of working themselves to the bone, and then you're sitting there thinking about all of the ways that he should be taking you out, he should be making you feel special, he should be spending time with you and making you a picnic or whatever you image you have in your head in terms of dating. And fair, like, really, I am 100% on her side when it comes to, you should have time for these things. And it does make a big difference in your marriage and your relationship and to your family if you actually invest time in doing things together. So I'm all for that. But you don't need to do it with this expectation of like, I just wish he could be, spontaneous and surprise me. You could just say, hey, I really want us to plan something out. Maybe we can go out for dinner on this day. Is there a particular day that you could take off and then we could spend time together? How can we do that on a regular basis so that we don't forget what it's like to spend time together? You can just be a little bit more of an adult about the whole thing. One person replies to this. She says, miserable people give miserable input. Ignore small minds. Showing up for each other is what makes relationships last. Ask any old couple who's still happy. Life is short. While financial security is important, so is making time for each other. Either he takes a couple of hours away from his work schedule for you and the family, or he frees up his Sundays. I hope the best for you all and hope that there can be an effort compromise made. And that's a pretty good comment on the whole. Really kind of summarizes how I feel about this. But I think the accusation that the person who thinks it's a little bit childish to expect spontaneity when someone's working 12 hours a day is not necessarily a miserable person, but someone who just has a different perspective. And then the final comment here, she says, if he's working until midnight, how is he supposed to take you out for dinner? You have all day to yourself. What's keeping you from having me time? And don't use, but I have a baby as an excuse. Like most gyms have childcare. You don't have to exercise. You can go to a pool, steam room, get coffee and just chill or get your nails done. I would do it all the time as a single mom. Pick somewhere you want to go on a weekend and set it up so all he has to do is get dressed. And I think that is maybe kind of taking the wrong point away from this. Fair enough if you want to spend time with your husband. I really believe that. And I really do believe that you have to invest time together to really have a secure and stable and happy marriage that lasts for a long time. But yes, you can do some work for it as well. If he's working all the time to make life easy and comfortable for you, then you can do the same.